These two cameras on the face of it look similar in design, but each of them has unique strengths and weaknesses that set them apart. In this video, instead of deep diving into the specs of these cameras, I'm going to focus on real-world usability, key features and image quality. Both cameras are a solid design, and the GoPro 13 is slightly bigger and slightly heavier, and the Action 5 Pro is definitely more compact, especially without its plastic cage. The plastic cage does add more protection, but it could have been more functional, like it could have included a cold shoe mount, for example. When it comes to mounting straight out of the box, the GoPro does win. It has the classic folding fingers built into the body, plus an integrated 1/4" thread. And this means that you can attach it to almost any mount without any additional accessories. The Action 5 Pro relies on this quick release mounting attachment, which comes in the box. I did dislike this at first because it adds bulk to the overall size of the camera, and it can be easily lost, and plus you have to use it, because on the body of the Action 5 Pro there's no finger mount and no integrated 1/4" thread. DJI have made this really easy to attach and detach from your camera, and once you start using this style mount across all of DJI's accessories and their whole mounting ecosystem, it's actually a really convenient and fast way to switch your camera from one mount to another. With all the specs, features and high resolutions of these action cameras nowadays, you do need a good battery. And based on shooting 4K at 30 frames per second, the GoPro ran for 1 hour 54 minutes and the Action 5 Pro ran for an incredible 3 hours 15 minutes. Looking at the GoPro's menu and user interface, whilst it does have an easy mode which simplifies the settings for beginners, overall the user interface isn't as intuitive as it could be. It's not as smooth, and the overall look of the menu and the graphics feel outdated. And there's no touchscreen capability on the front screen either, so it's less practical. The Action 5 Pro has the clearest, cleanest menu, and it has large, well-organised icons. You can also select a Pro mode on the Action 5 Pro, but this just gives you access mainly to manual settings. I think the option of an easy mode for beginners is better on the GoPro, but the overall smoothness and design of the user interface is better on the Action 5 Pro. And the front screen is touchscreen, and this makes it so much more practical. In terms of the unique features with both of these cameras, they obviously both have a micro SD card slot, but the Action 5 Pro also has a 47GB internal memory. The Action 5 Pro also has file naming management, so you can change the names of the files and the folders on the camera, and this makes it really useful when you're organising your clips on your desktop. And their external radio mic options seamlessly integrate with this camera because they are DJI mics. And even though you can use the DJI mic on the GoPro as well, with the Action 5 Pro you can use two mics at the same time, both via Bluetooth, so you don't need any receivers attached to the camera. Another really cool feature is camera tracking. So you can lock the camera off, start recording, and then it will track you as you move and reframe the shot to keep you in the middle of the frame. Another unique feature is the depth and altitude sensor, and this is particularly good if you're diving, and you can then overlay the data onto your videos. So in terms of the unique features of the GoPro has easy mode. It can also shoot at 5.3K, so a much higher resolution than the Action 5 Pro. There's also an 8:7 aspect ratio, which you can use in 4K at 60 frames per second. And this is taller, so it gives you more options when you choose your final 16:9 frame. So effectively you're reframing it when you edit. And it also has a burst video mode, and this allows you to shoot at 120 frames per second in 5.3K. This is restricted, however, to 5 seconds, but it's still a great feature to have. There's also a lens system with multiple lens options, and you also have 360-degree horizon leveling in 4K. So this means that the horizon will stay level even if I turn the camera all the way around. With the Action 5 Pro, you can have horizon leveling shooting in 4K, but you only have a 45-degree tolerance before you lose the horizon leveling capability. The integrated GoPro finger mount with the 1/4" thread is definitely a big feature, and generally I think this camera compared to the Action 5 Pro doesn't have as many standout features. As this video's gone on, you have seen some comparisons in image quality between these two cameras, so now let's look more closely at the differences. The Action 5 Pro has built-in HDR, which means that in more challenging situations it holds on to more detail in the highlights and the shadows automatically. The HDR with the GoPro does lift details in the highlights, but it tends to leave skin tones underexposed in a lot of scenarios. In perfect lighting conditions though, you can't ignore how nice and realistic GoPro's contrast and colours are, even without any HDR. And sometimes the Action 5 Pro gives you a better dynamic range, but it's at the cost of flattening off some of the details in the process. The lens flare produced by Action 5 Pro produces an odd shape at times and doesn't always look as natural as the GoPro 13. And there were a number of shots I took with these cameras where I'd be harder pushed to even tell the difference between the two of them. There is a huge difference in the speed of the auto exposure with these two cameras, so when you're moving in and out of the trees or going through a tunnel, for example, the Action 5 Pro gives you a very quick and almost seamless transition, whereas the GoPro is slow and loses so much detail in the highlights. In low light and even extreme low light, the Action 5 Pro is the clear winner with its super night mode. The GoPro really struggles here to give you anything usable at all, whereas the Action 5 Pro gives you usable exposure even just using one candle. The Action 5 Pro overall, in my opinion, does come out on top when you compare these two cameras. It has a clearer and more intuitive user interface, it's more compact, and it has more standout features that sets it apart from the GoPro. And although image quality is very subjective, for me personally I prefer the Action 5 Pro because I think it performs better in more situations, especially when you have high contrast or low light. I would still like an integrated 1/4 inch thread in the camera body though, just to give you more mounting flexibility. The GoPro 13 still leads from the point of view of mounting because it has the most versatile mounting system with the integrated fingers and the integrated 1/4 inch thread. However, that's not enough, and beyond that it just falls short in so many areas and the user interface just feels outdated. Having said that, at times the image quality is still hard to ignore, so it's still a solid choice for an action camera. Which camera is your favourite? Let me know in the comments, and to find out the best accessories for the Action 5 Pro you want to watch this video next, and I'll see you over there.